Well, let's see some people who are making a difference. My guests tonight are hoping to advance another solution, stopping the cycle of violence, starting with Chicago's children in some of the city's worst hit neighborhoods like Austin, North Lawndale. Join me in welcoming to our WGN studios tonight the Friends of the Children Chicago Executive Director Tal Hazak-Lowy and Program Director Seth El-Jamal. Welcome to the show. Appreciate it. By the way, so the name of the program, Friends of the Children Chicago, does that mean, Tal, that there are branches of this around the country?
Correct. So Friends of the Children was started in Portland, Oregon 26 years ago, and we're the 15th city. And they have plans to expand to 25 cities by 2025.
Now, this one has been here for 2 years?
For a year and a half.
A year and a half. Well, let's go. We'll round it up and call it 2 years. So, Seth, just outline for viewers who may not know about this. It's a mentoring program, and you start with these kids really young.
Absolutely. So the focus of our program is working with kids beginning in kindergarten who are exhibiting high risk factors.
Already in kindergarten?
Absolutely. And low protective factors. So you may have families who live in communities that deal with violence. You may have families who have siblings who are involved in gangs. You may have families who deal with not having enough food, in their specific location. And so all of these attribute to challenges in school, challenges in their community, and so we work with those kids. We work to identify those kids.
Tal, one of the things I think is very cool about this, as I read about it, is you work with them starting at kindergarten, and you hang with them for quite a while. So talk about just that. And the same person hangs with them.
Kids are in our program for 12 and a half years, no matter what.
Yeah.
There's nothing they can do to be kicked out of our program. Teenagers can, by definition, make really poor decisions and make mistakes, and that's exactly when they need the adults to stay by their side. We don't work with volunteer mentors. It's our full-time salary trained staff that work with them. We ask all of our friends to give at least a 3 to 5 year commitment. The average friend, that's what we call our professional mentor, stays with us for at least 7 years. When kids go into 6th grade, we shift. So each friend only works with 8 children, and they spend 4 hours a week individually with each child at school, at home, and in the community.
And obviously, and Seth, as a volunteer piece, that would be very tough to do. These are paid positions.
Absolutely. These are full-time, salaried, professional
So what kind of background do those people need? I mean, I'm assuming that just, somebody off the street says, hey, I'm looking for a job, I'd like to do this. You need skills to do that.
Absolutely. So we require at least 2 years of working with underserved youth as well as a bachelor's degree to start. And we do a lot of training in how to connect relationally with kids, but also how to connect relationally with the parents that we serve.
So, Tal, the proof's in the pudding. I know it's only been basically a couple of years that you've been doing it, but you could probably speak nationally as well. Talk about the success rate. How has it been working? 26 years for the organization, so there's some rates.
We're an evidence-based organization. We're in right now in the 8th year of a randomized controlled trial. 83% of our kids graduate from high school. 93% avoid the juvenile justice system, and 98% avoid early parenting. And 92% of our youth go on to what we call one of our 3 E's, so enroll in college, enlist in the military, or enter legal employment.
I have to ask the Chicago piece to this. First of all, how do you get funded? Somebody's got to pay for this, and does Mayor Lightfoot know about this?
So we work with people in the city and the county. We're building those relationships. We had relationships with people in Mayor Emanuel's office, and we're building those relationships now as well. Each new chapter of Friends of the Children has to raise $1.5 million in order to launch. We were generously funded by the Pritzker Pucker Family Foundation, the Staines Foundation, the Paul M. Angel Foundation, and significant individual donors. And now we're working to find some public streams of funding as well.
Seth, I mean, you work with these programs, right? So, so how is this different? I mean, I got to tell you, I do lots of interviews, lots of different programs, always trying to help underserved youth or at-risk youth. What's different about this?
I would say the biggest difference in working in Chicago for about 17 years, we've had, there's so many awesome programs that do a lot of good, but the typical idea of mentoring starts at about adolescence. Working with somebody who has an awesome job, who has some free time, who wants to dedicate the time to a young person. But what we do is we dedicate specific time that caters to the child. A challenge with volunteer mentoring is in some ways you have to cater to the mentor. This is a volunteer. You have to meet them on their schedule. You have to connect with where they live. There's a lot of different requirements with a volunteer. But with a professional, we meet the child. We assess how the child is doing, and we find the best way to connect with them based on their needs, either academic or social. And so the amount of time that we spend as well is specifically unique. We are able to spend 2 hours a week in class with the kids. And then we were able to take those same kids out on outings to go to Chinatown and eat Chinese food made by Chinese people and learn how to shake hands and how to greet people outside of your community. So it's immersive as well as supportive of the young person's needs.
Are you hiring? I might want to come in and get a Chinese meal out of that.
Yeah.
Listen, when I said before, I wasn't really surprised, but I acted surprised when I said, wow, kindergarten kids. But the reality of it is, and I've read about you guys, parents get in the mode in terms of how they handle society in this city in a fight or flight kind of situation, right? And that's what passes on to the kids, and that's why it's such a young age. But explain what it is I'm referring to.
Sure. So, the clip you played before when Mayor Lightfoot talked about these are issues having to do with poverty, I would add these are issues that have to do with trauma, untreated trauma. And when you're exposed to significant trauma, especially as a child, and you don't have the buffering support of a positive, consistent relationship who can ground you and help you overcome those, you get stuck in fight or flight mode. You're quick to react and overreact to situations. So many of the kindergartners that we select, we sort of do a reverse draft. We're trying to select the children that have been exposed to the most trauma, who don't have an adult in their life who can ground them. Who are the ones who aren't showing up to school, they're throwing temper tantrums in school. Those are the kids that are meant for Friends of the Children, and we believe they have great potential as well. And then we're that stabilizing force in their life, and we also build a strong relationship and connection with their parent and caregivers.
Seth, I guess whether or not a child has that stability at home, if there is a traumatic situation, it might very well occur on the school ground. And I know one of the things you guys have talked about is the fact that the teacher is often the first responder in a situation. So talk about that role and how that works out.
Yeah, one of the most amazing things about this program is the fact that we can provide an extra layer of support for teachers. Right now, they're required to do so many more things than teach, and so as this first responder type person, the teachers are required to do so many things outside of what they're assigned to do. So our mentors are able to help facilitate those extra things that teachers are not able to, that they wish they could do but can't because they have to focus on educating this massive group of kids. So we exist in the classroom. We may have 2 or 3 kids in our class, but we're providing support to the entire classroom. We're there at recess, we're there at lunch, we're there to provide this kind of extra buffer support so that teachers can feel a little bit freer to do their specific job.
And the good news is something folks need to know about on June 5th. There's an event coming up, so tell me a little bit about who's there, who's speaking. We're showing viewers, but tell me about it.
Sure, right. So it's a panel discussion on June 5th at Loyola's downtown campus called The Power of Early Intervention, Breaking the Intergenerational Cycle of Trauma. Alex Kotlowitz will be giving opening remarks.
That's great.
Yeah, and Brian Samuels of Chapin Hall will be moderating a discussion with Dr. Colleen Cacchetti from Lurie Center for Childhood Resilience. Eddie Bocanegra from Ready Chicago will be on the panel, as well as Dr. Maurice Swinney, who's the Chief Equity Officer for Chicago Public Schools.
All right, so people
open to the public.
Open to the public so they can attend.
Right, so go to chicago.org to learn more information.
Okay, Tal, Seth, thanks for the work you're doing. So
Thank you.
important, and I bet the mayor's watching, and she might just pick up on this and work
Thank
with
you so much
guys
for having
close.
us.